Hello, BioB. So this is our notes for Unit 3, the Human Anatomy and Physiology unit. We finished homeostasis, which was Objective 1. So this is the notes slash lecture for organization. So we're going to look at explain the hierarchy of cellular organization in humans. So how are living things organized? Hierarchy means kind of like from smallest to biggest or biggest to smallest. All right, so a couple things. So the first things you kind of need to know is most animals are composed of specialized cells. So everything you kind of learn at the beginning of biology when you're looking at cells is really about talking about a generalized cell, like sometimes just that basic cell and its parts. Now, once a multicellular organism like us, that's made of many, many cells, those cells have to specialize. So each cell has to take on a specific function. The reason is because it would be impossible for every cell in your body to be able to do every job and keep you alive. You'd never be able to get things into your body quick enough, get things out of your body like waste quick enough. You wouldn't be able to deliver oxygen and all that stuff. So that's why your cells specialize and they become certain sort of cells, like either bone or muscle or skin or part of your heart. All those do specific jobs. So that's called specialization when they become specialized. Kind of like how a doctor will start out going to med school. Once they're done with their basic med school, then they're going to specialize. So oftentimes a doctor then will go into a certain area. So either become a neurosurgeon or like a brain doctor, right? Like that works on the brain, or they become, um, you know, they work just with the digestive system, or they work with just the heart or just the circulatory system. So like that's kind of the same idea because otherwise it's too hard for them to treat and do everything themselves. All right, so now if you take all those cells and you take cells and you put a bunch of cells together, they make what are called tissues. Tissues are a bunch of cells all working together to do a job. So that would be like a doctor's practice. So one doctor would be like the cell, a bunch of the doctors in the same doctor's office that are all working together would be like tissues. Okay. Now, if you take a bunch of those different tissues and you put them together, that's like an organ. So an organ might be like then the doctor or the hospital. So now you have within the same building a bunch of different tissues, so groups of doctors that are all working together to meet the needs of the whole community or that area. And then if you take a bunch of the organs and put them all together, then you make an organ system. And that's where you have all the different organs kind of working together to do something for your job. Like your digestive system has your stomach and your intestines and your liver and all that stuff. Okay. All right. Um, so in class, we did this kind of tissue sorting activity. So, um, and then we came back. So now we're going to look at tissues are classified into four main categories. Okay. And that's what the sorting activity was on, is them looking at examples and trying to figure out if you had pictures of these tissues, which group do you think they go in? So you have four main tissue groups. You have your epithelial, your connective, your muscular, and your nervous. Okay. Epithelial tissue is essentially tissue that lines and covers parts of your body. So most kids will think like, oh, it's like your skin. So your skin is epithelial tissue, but it's not the only epithelial tissue on the outside. You also have epithelial tissue all through the inside of your body. So like the inside of your mouth that you can feel with your tongue, that's epithelial tissue. Um, what usually coats or covers most of your internal organs is epithelial tissue, okay? And there's lots of different types of epithelial tissue, and they're mainly categorized and named for their shape. So like for instance, a cuboidal epithelial tissue is epithelial tissue that's kind of like cube shaped. Columnar, see how they look like columns? And then what's called pseudostratified columnar means that they're kind of columns, but they also are kind of like, see how they're layered a little bit, so they're not perfect columns. And then you have what is called squamous tissue. Squamous tissue is when the epithelial cells are like very flat, like almost like pancake like, and you have both Stratified, which is this is more kind of like what your skin on your arm looks like, as you'll learn in the integumentary system. And then this is like kind of what lines a lot of your organs and capillaries, stuff like that, because it's only one cell thick. It's very simple. Okay, so epithelial tissue lines the body and the organs. Connective tissue, right, is essentially what binds and supports other tissues. It connects. Okay, so there's lots of different connective tissue. This is probably the biggest group of tissues that then gets broken down into smaller groups. Like technically cartilage belongs in here, tendons belong in here, ligaments belong in here, as you can see. So like we'll go more in depth with those when we do this skeletal system, because they are a big part of that. You have, like I said up here, you can have what's called loose connective tissue. You can have fibrous connective tissue. Bone is a connective tissue. Cartilage, like I said, another one. And then that's Miss Tenbrock if you want to say hi. See, it's Miss Tenbrock. Say hi to BioB.
Hi, BioB.
So, okay. So, recording these in the morning, sometimes people stop in. And then you have what's called adipose tissue. Adipose tissue is like fat, and then blood is actually considered a connective tissue because it connects and carries nutrients throughout the body. So that's one that often is pretty interesting, is that blood is actually a connective tissue. So then you have your third type of tissue. So we've talked about epithelial, which is like covering skin and covers your organs. We have connective tissue, which really holds everything together, holds bones together, muscles and stuff like that. And then you have muscular tissue. And muscular tissue, really, there's three main types. Its job is to do a lot of supporting, movement. It gives stability to your body, right? There are three types. Like I said, there's skeletal muscle, which is the type of muscle cells that you control that make up like all your biceps and everything that you move and run and jump and talk and do all that stuff. You have control of your skeletal muscles because they attach to your skeleton, which allows you to move your skeleton, therefore giving you movement. All right. Then sorry again. Okay, so skeletal is the ones you move. Smooth muscle is muscle that you don't have control over, which essentially runs a lot of your like digestive tract. It's found in your arteries and your veins, so like your blood vessels. It's found in a lot of the parts. Technically, you have a smooth muscle in your eye, which is what allows your eye to dilate and constrict to control the light. So smooth muscles are called smooth, as you'll learn in the muscular system, because the way they're structured, they don't look like they have stripes, whereas skeletal muscle do. And then you have cardiac muscle, and the only place that cardiac muscle is found is in your heart, and it makes up your heart. All right, so as you can see, you got your skeletal. This is kind of what I meant by the smooth versus the striated or skeletal. The way skeletal is structured, you can see it looks like it has stripes, whereas smooth muscle doesn't. That's why they call it that. All right, and then last you have what is called nervous tissue. Nerve tissue essentially makes up your nervous system. It's there to transmit signals, and we'll go more in depth into the actual what does a neuron or a nerve cell look like and how does it work when we do the nervous system. So nervous tissue is made of these specialized nerve cells, which we call neurons. Okay, and these, like you can see, have a very unique shape because they do a very, very unique function for your body. So that's it for part A of organization. Explain the hierarchy. So remember, organelles and stuff make cells, cells make tissues, tissues make organs, organs make organ systems, and then organ systems make up the living thing, which is called an organism. And then for parts B and C is where for the rest of this unit, we are going to go more in depth into each of the 10 organ systems, and you're going to learn about some of the major organs that are found in each one, as well as some of the main functions that the system and the organs carry out to keep you in homeostasis and functioning. And these are just a quick example of what they are. There's actually 11 body systems. We will not go over the reproductive system. You can do that in health class, but otherwise we'll look at like integumentary system is essentially your skin, your skeletal, your muscular, your nervous, your circulatory, sometimes called cardiovascular, the endocrine, the lymphatic, the digestive, the respiratory, and then your urinary, or sometimes called excretory system. So those are the systems that we're going to go to. And as you can see, this is kind of where I just explained. If you really enjoy this unit, you might think about taking Mr. Jordan's anatomy and physiology class as a junior or senior as an elective, or maybe take AP Bio, where you even go a little more in depth in this class. And thank you very much. Have a good day.